All right, so today is the 1st of October. Happy October. Now let's have a look to, I don't know, it's called, I don't know, all the generals and all that, admirals from everywhere in the world are united in the United States. Okay, now let's have a look and I just comment on it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane.
All right, generals, admirals, senior leaders, good morning. Wow, what a group here today. I will tell you that our enemies are terrified right now that we are all in the same room, and that is a true statement.
Yeah, I do believe it's a true statement. Also, he's happy to see his mates and comrades or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if comrades is a term for the left, but you know what I mean, colleagues and etc. And when he said that their enemies are terrified, yeah, enemies could be terrified because this could be a signal pre-war. Now, I think it shouldn't be taken as a signal pre-war. It's just showing how afraid the United States is. We have to remember that right now the AI is giving me pain, but it's okay. Okay. Well, yeah. Now the pain went away, but okay, yeah, it was really painful. Now, we have to remember that the Peloponnesian Wars started because one of the regions of Greece started to have fear. Let's see if I can find that. Well, the Peloponnesian Wars started because
the events between the two wars, what we do know, I think, is very expensive, and which he was going to use league money to legitimize the plan that was, and their allies' view is that Pericles was attempting to make
Pericles.
very
Pericles was a statesman. Okay.
After all, this colony was
This might be important.
established in reaction to a request made by some Italian Greeks who were having trouble in their own city, needed to found a new one, needed more people in order to make it viable, went to Sparta. The Spartans said, we're not interested. Went to Athens, and the Athenians said, yes, we'll help you do this. Now, the Athenians could have said no.
Pericles.
Or they could have done the normal thing if they wanted to say yes, make it an Athenian colony.
Okay, there is a remark about Thucydides, the general who became the first historian, about Pericles. Pericles was a kind of statement. Apparently he did well, but he did it under war times. Also, That's not the point that I want to talk. I want to talk the Peloponnesian Wars. Peloponnesian Wars, the first great war in history, the first great war that extended for a long time. Let's see. "27 years. That was the first great war. The first great war started because of fear. Someone did a preemptive attack. And yeah, that unlocked like a chain effect, a domino effect. And yeah, that's why when this guy says that the enemies are in fear, again, and they're giving me kind of pain, I don't know. Well, it's annoying. Then when he says that their enemies are in fear, then it's not good, honestly. It's not good. At this stage, it's not.
Welcome everyone to Marine Corps Base Quantico and the first ever Key Leaders All Call. To the Commandant and all of the Marines.
First ever. It could be a kind of propaganda as well. Maybe not necessarily all the leaders there said to do something specifically. Why will be the reason? Maybe there is already a Porsche happened, and this is the consolidation of the Porsche. Who knows? I don't know. I talk about the Porsche because they are saying that this could be the start of the Porsche. Maybe the Porsche already happened. Who knows? I mean, maybe they are finishing the Porsche. Well, I don't know.
That have made this event possible, thank you. This was no small feat to put this event together in short order, and I'm glad there's pull-up bars just outside. The SEALs in the corner out there are very happy about that. I regret to inform you there will not be a PT test after this event because I know you all would crush it. Last night, I had the privilege of joining the Secretary and the Joint Chiefs in honoring 50 Gold Star families at the White House as the President, the First Lady, and our nation honored their loved ones' service and sacrifices. Teammates, it was a quiet and deeply meaningful event that reminded all of us that were lucky enough to be there of the serious and unforgiving nature of the business that we are in, fighting and winning our nation's wars. Leaders, we are living in dynamic and potentially dangerous times. Global risk is on the rise. Our adversaries are no longer aligning, they are aligned. And we must align with equal. And last night I had the privilege of joining Resolve and
Okay, the enemies are aligned. One of the most important things is that, yeah, this doctrine of if you are not with me, you are against me, means that everyone is aligned. If they are not with you, and technically everyone in the UN was talking about we need multilateralism to avoid a war, precisely because this kind of doctrine.
and unity, even as we strive for and seek peace, we must be prepared for war. Now,
You know what's the problem with phrases? That sometimes you can take a huge decision based on a phrase, and what the Kantian predicate tells you is that there is not a single phrase that holds true in every single situation. So there are a few situations. Okay, define stupidity. One of the few ways in which you can define stupidity is to take decisions made on a phrase. This is not necessarily the case, but if you take always decisions on a phrase, then you will find situations in which the phrase doesn't hold true. This is not necessarily the situation, but I'm just being extremely critical, that's all. And you have to be always careful, because he could say this as a kind of commander, and then someone could take it as a policy for always doing it. But then it's when you have to call the common sense. Yeah, he is giving a speech, etc. Blah blah blah. It holds the phrases always will hold epistemic knowledge. Then when he say, if we want to live in peace, we need to be prepared for war, is because the tension that will create if you have guns, if someone is treating you or you feel threatened, is a kind of tension that comes and goes and avoids the kind of extreme clash that could happen during the Second World War. That's the epistemic knowledge. But it doesn't mean that always to have peace, you have to be ready for war. Yeah, that's my point.
Now, more than ever, it is vital that we hear from our civilian leaders, understand where they're taking the department and the joint force. And today, we have the unprecedented opportunity and honor to hear directly from the Secretary of War and our Commander-in-Chief. Together, you and I and our civilian leaders have the honor of leading the finest military in the world, and we must seize every opportunity every day to prepare our joint force for the future. I am deeply humbled to serve with each and every one of you. And now it is my distinct honor to introduce our nation's Secretary of War.
I think he's truly honored. I mean, I don't know, it's like a kind of what he shows his body language. I think he's talking to friends, yeah, somehow.
The Honorable Pete Hegseth.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sure. Thank you.
That was a very short speech. I don't know who's got that guy, but that is what Pierre Bourdieu calls the skeptron. The skeptron. So Pierre Bourdieu talks about the skeptron being the person that does the magic. When you have an introduction, yeah, because whatever he says doesn't matter. What he says is the introduction for what this fella gonna say that really matters. But let's see if I could find anything about this skeptron, because skeptron. So yeah, I remember it. More or less, what is that thing? There is not symbolic power without the symbolism of power. Symbolic attributes, as is well illustrated in the paradigmatic case of the skeptron, and the sanctions against the improper wearing of uniforms, are a public display of thereby an officialization of the contract of delegation. They are mine, and the robe declares that the judge or the doctor is recognized as having just cause in the collective recognition for declaring himself, this is Bourdieu, super complicated, for declaring himself judge of doctor, that his impostors, in the sense of the pretension expressed by his appearance, is illegitimate. The competence that is specifically linguistically, the Latin ones spoken by doctors, or the eloquence of the spokesperson, is also one of the manifestations of competence in the sense of the right to speech and to power through speech. There is a whole dimension of authorized language, its rhetoric, syntax, vocabulary, and the pronunciation, which exists purely to underline the the authority of its authors and the trust he demands. In this respect, style is an element of the mechanism in the Pascalian sense, through which language aims to produce and impose the representation of its own importance and thereby help to ensure its own credibility. We are talking about the military sense. This is the military field. The symbolic efficacy of the discourse of authority always depends in part on the linguistic competence of the person who utters it. This is more true, of course, when the authority of the speaker is less clearly institutionalized. It follows that the exercise of symbolic power is accompanied by work on the form of discourse which, as is clearly demonstrated in the case of poets in archaic societies, in the case of poets in archaic societies, has the purpose of demonstrating the orator's mastery and gaining him the recognition of the group. This logic is also found in the popular rhetoric of insults. This last phrase is the parenthesis of a parenthesis. So this logic is also found in the popular rhetoric of insults, which seeks by flagrant overstatement and the regulated deformation of ritual formulas to produce the expressive accomplishment which allowed one to get those laughing on the one side. Okay, so this is to say, whoever is the speaker is bestowed with power, and such power is given by a formality. It could be professionality, it could be the ropes, it could be the looks, it could be the kind of specific speech. Let's say someone could give a speech in Latin language and then proceed the appearance of the Pope, yeah? Or someone could dress extremely elegant and then keep the the aperture for Snoop Dogg to proceed. Yeah, this kind of situation. Then Snoop Dogg is not elegant at all, but who opens the way for him is the Skeptron, is who gives the legitimacy for him to go there. And this is perhaps in music, the Academy of the Grammys, etc. Blah blah. I have one washing machine who my neighbor gave me, and my washing machine is also working, but I'm gonna just close the door because I can hear my washing machine. So then all this appearance has been done to bestow the power to this guy, and this guy here is what in sociology is called the Skeptron.
Please take your seats. Well, Mr. Chairman, the Joint Chiefs, Generals, Admirals, Commanders, Officers, Senior Enlisted, NCOs, Enlisted, and every member of our American military, good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the War Department. Because the era of the Department of Defense is over. You see, the motto of my first platoon was, "Those who long for peace must prepare for war." This is, of course, not a new idea. This crowd knows that. The origin dates to the 4th century Rome and has been repeated ever since, including by our first commander-in-chief, George Washington, the first leader of the War Department. It captures a simple yet profound truth. To ensure peace, we must prepare for war. From this moment forward, the only mission of the newly restored Department of War is this: warfighting, preparing for war and preparing to win, unrelenting and
Preparing for war and preparing to win.
uncompromising in that pursuit. Not because we want war. No one here wants war. But it's because we love peace. We love peace for our fellow citizens. They deserve peace, and they rightfully expect us to deliver it. Our number one job, of course, is to be strong so that we can prevent war in the first place. The president talks about it all the time. It's called peace through strength. And as
in the UN, everyone was asking to lower. They say, you know, the rule cannot be military mighty. We have to follow rules of behavior by will, because we are civilized, because we are conscious, because we can conduct ourselves. It's not because we need a paternalist figure to tell us what to do. We are mature enough as countries to deal with China, to deal with you. Technically, what's every single country that I had a look or listened to in the UN was asking for that.
history teaches us, the only people who actually deserve peace are those who are willing to wage war to defend it.
That's what I mean. They say, no, we need to invest in health, not in war. We need to invest in education, not in war. We need to invest in roads, not in war. We need to invest in our people. We need to invest in other things besides war. Yeah. And since Donald Trump came to power, check this out. Donald Trump came to power. Donald Trump started to ask to increase NATO's expenditure, and the country that refused increase NATO's expenditure for every single country of the European Union, etc., and the country that refused the most to it was Germany. At that time, Angela Merkel was in power. Angela Merkel said, no, we are in times of peace. We cannot ruin these times of peace. And she did not increase the expenditure in defense. Then Angela Merkel started to have the tremors, and then she started to look sick. That can be done with neuro weapons. Listen to me. That can be done with neuro weapons. That kind of situation in which she trembles and not knowing why, that can be done with neuro weapons. Now, I don't know if that was happening to her with neuro weapons, but that's one of the situations or great problems of colonialism and keeping this kind of weapon secret. Because remember, the Nazis probably knew that in Norway they were developing this kind of nuclear weapon, and maybe that's why they went also westwards, but the Nazis started eastwards. And then everyone knew about the creation of the nuclear bomb, and then everyone tried to stop the Nazis, knowing that it was possible already to create the bomb, because most of these scientists became refugees, etc. But that's another story. We don't know how, because the nuclear bomb, the first one exploded in the 1945, but the possibility of the creation of the bomb was new maybe a long time before. I don't know exactly, yeah, but it was not necessarily because the equation of Newton. It could have been for other physicians. Now, I was talking about all this because I forgot.
They deserve peace.
Yes, peace through strength. Then Angela Merkel left NATO. Sorry, left the power and left NATO, left her job, and the war in Ukraine started. She was the main power. She was holding the main power in the European Union. She was also holding, let's say, economically. She was she was kind of making Europe orderly. After Scholz came to power, and holy shit, he was thriving in a thing that only Merkel could have hold. That's how I see it. It's like grandma left, and then the shit hits the fan. But grandma received a lot of hell of pressure from the United States to increase the expenditure. After NATO start to increase, the whole NATO start to increase the expenditure for war. By pressure of the United States, then the war in Ukraine started. And I don't know what was the role of the neuro weapons in Ukraine, but one of the first things that Putin did. Putin was sending missiles to all the telecommunication towers, etc. So, yeah, I don't know. Well, then also, well, there was a lot of things going, but let's keep going in this video.
And they rightfully expect us to deliver it. Our number one job, of course, is to be strong so that we can prevent war in the first place. The president talks about it all the time. It's called peace through strength. And as history teaches us, the only people who actually deserve peace are those who are willing to wage war to defend it. That's why.
Defend it from who? If they tried to use me to discriminate attack against society, but they couldn't hold my mind. But I don't know if are they, but I noticed that depending on the dynamics in the United States, it changes the attacks that are done upon me. Yeah. Depends on what happened there. Depending on the policy. So it's obviously that something is going on behind. It's like they can securitize every single of the academics that they want. Or what, I don't know.
Pacifism is so naive and dangerous. It ignores human nature and it ignores human history.
I would say it's dangerous to define human nature, and history is just history. And that's the problem. We have not defined what is human nature, and that's why we are malforming human nature and attacking people and making their minds naked, trying to mind control them, and we are changing human nature because we don't know how it works. We have not defined it, and then not knowing how is human nature, and we change it, and then what they are doing with me is dehumanizing me every day, every single day. Some people think that I'm in a special position, but they don't know how it is to be humiliated every single fucking day. Not being able to use my accent, not being able to say the words that I would like to say, not being able to keep my biology, to wake up when I want to wake up, to feel hunger when I'm hungry, to feel fulfilled when I'm satisfied. They don't know what is that every single day, all day, to feel pain, to not have a voice depending on what I think, to not have pain depending on what I think, to have, they don't know, I mean, they don't know what is to miss silence in your head for 1 minute. Yeah? For 1 minute, they don't know what is to not have intermissions every night in your dreams. Yeah? They are changing human nature. I don't know if they are they, but I know that the technology strictly has been spoken that exists from military bodies from and scientists from the United States. And I know that the world is surrounded by satellites from the United States. And it doesn't have to be satellites.
Either you protect your people and your sovereignty, or you will be subservient to something or someone. It's a truth as old as time. And since waging war is so costly in blood and treasure, we owe our republic a military that will win any war we choose, or any war that is thrust upon us. Should our enemies choose foolishly to challenge us, they will be crushed by the violence, precision, and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, to our enemies,
Okay.
F-A-F-O. If necessary, our troops can translate that for you.
FAFO. I can't remember what is that. Fuck around and find out. Okay, let's analyze those words.
That will win any war we choose, or any war that is thrust upon us. Should our enemies choose foolishly to challenge us, they will be crushed by the violence, precision, and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, to our enemies, F-A-F-O.
Well, one of the things in war is it says if you are strong, pretend to be weak. If you are weak, pretend to be strong. I don't know why they have to say like, fuffle. Fuck around and find out. Did I fuck around to be near a target? What I did, engage in politics, extremely democratic politics, with no violence. Debate. I was in every single of the, let's say, spaces in which I was politically invited or I participate. I was always the one who criticized and debate. They themselves did not love me, believe me. Did I walk around and find out? What I did was just to keep the values, Western values of critical thinking. Values of freedom of thought. Who did this to me? If I was engaged with what will be at the core, this will be the values of the academy, the Western thinking, and democracy. So what is if I fuck around and find out? Yeah, okay. And I think that's unprofessional to say.
If necessary, our troops can translate that for you.
Thank you.
Another way to put it is peace through strength, brought to you by the warrior ethos. And we are restoring both. As President Trump has said, and he's right, we have the strongest, most powerful, most lethal, and most prepared military on the planet. That is true, full stop. Nobody can touch us.
Okay, you have the best hammer.
It's not even close.
But you say you have the best hammer. That's all.
This is true largely because of the historic investments that he made in his first term, and we will continue in this term. But it's also true because of the leaders in this room and the incredible troops that you all lead. But the world, and as the chairman mentioned, our enemies get a vote. You feel it, I feel it. This is a moment of urgency, mounting urgency. Enemies gather, threats grow. There is no time for games. We must be prepared. If we're going to prevent...
Enemies gather, threats grow. I think United States has been always so afraid of other countries getting developed that China has been able to talk about the right to develop, which is very appealing. But at the same time, maybe United States is saying, oh shit, and they are coming all together. But honestly, from this side, it looks like, shit, you have the leadership, you are not taking the leadership, you say that you go first and no one else care, if you don't care about anyone else but yourself, and you have the opportunity to care about everyone and unite, because leadership is about uniting. Leadership is not about dividing. You could divide to do a kind of mediocre leadership, so you will have 50 plus 1% of the population on your side at the cost of sacrificing or pointing to the finger to a little minority in the population, and you will call that leadership, but that's actually what is called like a professional politician. So a professional politician is the politician that says what people want to hear. He just like, oh, people want to hear this, I just say. People just claps and is in awe, and then the person who is this professional politician have a look of what more the people wants to hear, then that politician leads the people where the unconscious desires of the people want to go. And there is another kind of leadership that unites everyone, educates everyone, and try to make every single mind reason, regardless of their previous past political view, etc. Blah blah blah. Yeah. Then when you have this kind of leadership, as there is a group, there is an outsider who wanna kill us. That's typical. That's typical. I mean, is the book. I mean, is the kind of script that is in the Bible and so on. It's just an all kind mentality of situation. It's a kind of it's a story that is repetitive. Is something that is relatively easy to steer in the feelings of the masses.
And avoid war, we must prepare now. We are the strength part of peace through strength. And either we're ready to win or we are not. You see, this urgent moment, of course, requires more troops, more munitions, more drones, more Patriots, more submarines, more B-21 bombers. It requires more innovation, more AI in everything and ahead of the curve. more cyber effects, more counter UAS, more space, more speed. America is the strongest, but we need to get stronger and quickly. The time is now, and the cause is urgent. The moment requires restoring and refocusing our defense industrial base, our shipbuilding industry, and onshoring all critical components. It requires, as President Trump has done, getting our allies and partners to step up and share the burden. America cannot do everything. The free world requires allies with real hard power, real military leadership, and real military capabilities.
Yeah, but let's say what happened with places like Australia. Australia is not even a strategic target for war. It's like, imagine, like, you will not try to invade the South Pole or the North Pole because just far away, there is nothing there. Yeah. And maybe that's why they put that United States base in the middle of the nowhere in Australia. But then, okay, Australia now will appear in the map. If something like that happens, as all the allies have to have, weapons and so on and blah, blah, blah. But that's precisely what, we are talking about hard power and so on. This is precisely what creates tension between Russia and Ukraine. And if you are wise, you will try to never share a border with a superpower or an hegemon. You will have a distance in between. But, United States have that distance in between. What about the other countries? Think about your allies as you would like to others to think about you. It's like we're talking about this rule of thumb. Okay.
The War Department is tackling and prioritizing all of these things. And I'll be giving a speech next month that'll showcase the speed, innovation, and generational acquisition reforms we are undertaking urgently. Likewise, the nature of the threats we face in our hemisphere and in deterring China is another speech for another day, coming soon. This speech today, as I drink my coffee, this speech today is about people, and it's about culture. The topic today is about the nature of ourselves. Because no plan, no program, no reform, no formation will ultimately succeed unless we have the right people and the right culture at the War Department.
The right people, the right culture, and human nature. We are talking about social engineering.
If I've learned one core lesson in my 8 months in this job, it's that personnel is policy. Personnel is policy. The best way to take care of troops is to give them good leaders committed to the warfighting culture of the department. Not perfect leaders, good leaders. Competent, qualified, professional, agile, aggressive, innovative, risk-taking, apolitical, faithful to their oath.
Everything that he's saying is a political position. Even if you say, I'm apolitical, this should be apolitical, that's a political situation, a political position.
Eugene Sledge, in his World War II memoir, wrote, quote, "War is brutish, inglorious, and a terrible waste. Combat leaves an indelible mark on those who are forced to endure it. The only redeeming factors are my comrades' incredible bravery and their devotion to each other. In combat, there are thousands of variables, as I learned in Iraq and Afghanistan, and as so many of you did in so many more places. Leaders can only control about 3 of them. You control how well you're trained, mostly how well you're equipped, And the last variable is how well you lead. After that, you're on your own. Our warfighters are entitled to be led by the best and most capable leaders. That is who we need you all to be. Even then, in combat, even if you do everything right, you may still lose people because the enemy always gets a vote. We have a sacred duty to ensure that our warriors are led by the most capable and qualified combat leaders. This is one thing you and I can control. And we owe it to the force to deliver it. For too long, we have simply not done that. The military has been forced by foolish and reckless politicians to focus on the wrong things. In many ways, this speech is about fixing decades of decay.
He just said that it's gonna be a political,
Some of it obvious.
and he said that the others are wrong. No, this is not going well.
Some of it hidden. Or as the chairman has put it, we are clearing out the debris, removing the distractions, clearing the way for leaders to be leaders. You might say we're ending the war on warriors. I heard someone wrote a book about that. For too long, we've promoted too many uniformed leaders for the wrong reasons, based on their race, based on gender quotas, based on historic so-called firsts. We've pretended that combat arms and non-combat arms are the same thing. We've weeded out so-called toxic leaders under the guise of double-blind psychology assessments, promoting risk-averse, go-along-to-get-along conformists instead. You name it, the department did it. Foolish and reckless political leaders set the wrong compass heading, and we lost our way.
This is 100% political. This is all political.
We became the woke department, but not anymore. Right now, I'm looking out at a sea of Americans who made a choice when they were young men and young women to do something most Americans will not, to serve something greater than yourselves, to fight for God and country, for freedom and the Constitution. You made a choice to serve when others did not, and I commend you. You are truly the best of America. But this does not mean, and this goes for all of us, that our path to this auditorium on this day was a straight line, or that the conditions of the formations we lead are where we want them to be. You love your country, and we love this uniform, which is why we must do better. We just have to be honest. We have to say with our mouths what we see with our eyes, to just tell it like it is in plain English, to point out the obvious things right in front of us. That's what leaders must do. We cannot go another day without directly addressing the plank in our own eye, without addressing the problems in our own commands and in our own formations.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that things plain might be myself a leader.
This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological.
Political correctness. I agree with that with him. Political correctness doesn't hide the problem. It does not solve it. It hides the problem. And makes humor really bad.
Garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris.
Wait. There is one of the problems that neuroweapons gonna homogenize people, and in the future we want humans to survive because they are not totally mechanized, because we still having something that makes us special, yeah, as humans, because human rights really exist and therefore everyone will have rights. Then diversity is key. and the future not gonna be less diverse, but more diverse. So that's why this hotspots of diversity in the world are the hope, and this is a sociologically scientific point. Yeah, because in the future, if there is only homogenization, then we're gonna become a kind of subrace for the machine. The machine gonna tell us what to do, how to do, when to do. Most of the economy at some stage, 51% of the economy will be driven by machines, for machines. And at some stage, machines will be able to create other programs, other machines by themselves, and there is no way humans could supervise that. Then at some stage, this machine is just gonna take control, and it's not gonna be aggressive. It's just gonna use our nature against us. That's why we have to be more conscious, not less conscious. And more consciousness means that humans will be born with more possibilities. Humans will have a lot of, let's say, diversity and variety in what they could do in life. Yeah.
Directly addressing the plank in our own eye, without addressing the problems in our own commands and in our own formations. This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division.
Well, if you never dress like a woman, you cannot understand what it is to be a woman. If you don't understand that you don't have muscles, whatever you do doesn't makes you or allows you to grow muscles, then you apply seduction. Doesn't allow you to be what is the condition of being a woman. If you don't understand, let's say, what is extremely beautiful as a woman, and then men always behaving like idiots when they see you, you cannot understand what it is to be a woman. If you cannot have babies, and then once your babies are born, to take care of them, because simply if you don't take care of them, they die. And if you don't take care of your body once they are born, then they could develop certain things. Or if you don't know what is that connection between what is life and your body, because you are not a woman, then you will not understand what is to be a woman. You do not raise children because they came out of you, and you give already part of your life to them, and then you continue doing it. You cannot understand what is to be a woman. If you don't have the period, you cannot understand what is to be a woman. Therefore, these dudes in dress, they have a chipset, a mindset. They have something here that most of us cannot understand. They can have the double of the possibility of what is to experience human, to be a human. They have double of the experience. And that's why these dudes are crazy smart. Yeah, it's like have you seen that they represent, I don't know, like 1% of the population or something like that? And it's common to see them in quite high demanding cognitive jobs. And I don't know, something that I have seen, which is very interesting. I mean, these guys are minds, okay? It's beyond what you see. These dudes in dress are very sharp. So I will not underestimate people that statistically is more proclived to be sharper than me.
Vision, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that shit. I've made it my mission to uproot the
But again, it's important to have diversity. If United States is the, the land of freedom, the ones who will bring freedom to everyone, everyone should be free to be a dude in dress. That's one of the situations. We need diversity for the future, otherwise we're gonna be all machine-like. That's a problem.
obvious distractions that made us less capable and less lethal. That said, the War Department requires the next step. Underneath the woke garbage is a deeper problem, and a more important problem that we are fixing and fixing fast. Common sense is back at the White House, so making the necessary changes is actually pretty straightforward. President Trump expects it. And the litmus test for these changes is pretty simple.
Litmus test.
Would I want my eldest son, who is 15 years old, eventually joining the types of formations that we are currently wielding? If in any way the answer to that is no, or even yes, but, then we're doing something wrong. Because my son is no more important than any other American citizen who dons the cloth of our nation. He is no more important than your son. All precious souls made in the image and likeness of God. Every parent deserves to know that their son or their daughter that joins our ranks is entering exactly the kind of unit that the Secretary of War would want his son to join. Think of it as the golden rule test. Jesus said, "Do unto others that which you would have done unto yourself." It's the ultimate simplifying test of truth.
You shall art international. You shall do national. No, what that will be? You shall do international security policy as you would like the others to do upon you, etc. Do the do the foreign policy as you would like the others to do it. But okay, he's rescuing something very important. This golden rule that is not necessarily Christian. It is in every single sacred text that I know. And yeah, that we should do to others as we wish to be done by the others, etc. So then, in this case, he's rescuing something important, but I think that he's not ready to see. He's not ready to see what it looks like. Yeah, because maybe what happened if there is people who wants, let's say, what happened if someone really wants something specific, beautiful for their kids, and there is someone who doesn't like anything for their kids, or they think their kids needs something strict, and the other things, no, my kids need to be wise, and they should have balance, and they should have both sides. And then when he see the other side that he doesn't like, he will be not that I'm going to of them, etc. Yeah. Let's see.
The new War Department golden rule is this: do unto your unit as you would have done unto your own child's unit. Would you want him serving with fat or unfit or undertrained troops? Or alongside people who can't meet basic standards? Or in a unit where standards were lowered so certain types of troops could make it in? In a unit where leaders were promoted for reasons other than merit, performance, and warfighting? The answer is not just no, it's hell no. This means at the War Department, first and foremost, we must restore a ruthless, dispassionate, and common sense application of standards. I don't want my son serving alongside troops who are out of shape, or in combat unit with females who can't meet the same combat arms physical standards as men.
Well, when you say this passionate, you know what's the situation? The Greeks used to have passion between them. Technically, all these Greeks used to be, all these Spartan warriors, you see these guys in 300 looking super macho men, they used to suck each other dicks during night time, but they don't show that because the Spartans were lowers too. They were first warriors, but lowers. Second first, yeah.
Or troops who are not fully.
So it's just this idea about passion and so on. What is that? It's depending on the situation. Yeah. It's like we are at this stage. We have brainwashed ourselves so much about what is to be a guy, what is to be a woman, that those concepts that used to not exist before, we are dividing them, and that's why this politics of gender failed, because the idea it will be like to blur the amount of difference of opportunity between genders, not about creating more genders, but actually to not paying attention to other genders, because there is the possibility for everyone to accomplish what they want, regardless of the gender. So equal opportunity. But then, yeah, it went too far. And it was exploited by the media, and certain laws did not have sense, and then there was no common sense in certain situations. But okay, that's kind of precise politics in United States, and I don't know how much the magnification of the media was done specific to gender, because maybe sometimes there will be one-off situation regarding this kind of operations, etc. And that could have just been so magnified that make everyone think that every single kid is becoming gay and transvestite and so on. And that's the other situation. There is nothing wrong for being gay. Let's say someone say to me that I'm gay. For me, it's not an insult. If someone tells me that you're just, I don't know, Mexican, Latin, sometimes I hear the word black. They say in the voices that I'm black. That's not an insult for me. What is an insult, I think, sometimes will be related with not being knowledgeable, or what does it mean. So if I will say gay to certain people, they will get kind of offended, but there is not offense in that, truly. If you call an Spartan gay, they will be like, yes, so what? By the way, I'm not gay. Just saying.
Proficient on their assigned weapons.
There are two kinds of masculinity. Weak masculinity, in which you get offended for everything, and strong masculinity, in which men can play with dolls. Think about it.
Platform or task. Or under a leader who was the first, but not the best. Standards must be uniform, gender neutral, and high. If not, they're not standards. They're just suggestions.
Okay, I pass over the hour, so I have to leave it here.